Yo, what's going on guys? Jay from the Forgotten Arc back with another video. So in this particular video, we're going to be taking a look at Yammy, the Espada, as you can see in the thumbnail. As you can tell by the thumbnail, this is a series that I do want to try and start called Brilliant or Broken, where we'll be looking at a particular character's abilities and then trying to determine if they can go down as a masterpiece in the creator's books or as something that they should have really left on the shelf. So we're going to start off with Yammy, the Espada, and take a quick look at his backstory and abilities and yeah, try and determine if he is broken or brilliant. So we're introduced to Yammy when he arrives in the human world with Ulquiorra, and Orihime and Chad actually respond to the disturbance that is caused by the arrival of the two. Yammy ends up fighting Chad and beats him pretty badly until Ichigo shows up and saves the day, and when Ichigo goes Bankai, it's too much for Yammy to deal with, and Yammy starts losing that fight pretty decisively until Ichigo starts struggling with his hollow, and that's when Yammy gets the upper hand. Ichigo is then saved by Yoruichi and Kisuke, and Yammy ends up losing to the two of them also. So when we have a look at Yammy's base form, it's really nothing to write home about. I feel that the majority of the captains and the Espada could probably kill him while he's in his base form, and that Yammy himself is just, as his aspect of death shows, pure rage, and none of that rage is channeled. Fast forwarding a little bit, we're going to go to the Fate Karakura Town arc, where Yammy is actually left behind in Hekomundo with a few of the other Espada, while the rest are fighting alongside Aizen in the aforementioned Fate Karakura Town. Yammy actually runs into Renji, Rukia, and Renji remarks that due to his number, that Yammy would actually be the weakest of the Espada, and Yammy takes offense to this and ends up releasing his Resurreccion, which makes him the strongest Espada, number 0. My only major issue with this is that if you go back to the actual fight that Sholong has with Hitsugaya, Sholong reveals that the Espada are numbered from 10 to 1 and the ranking that they're ranked by goes up in terms of strength and fighting ability. So this actual reveal for Yammy tends to make me think that it's a bit of a retcon on Kubo's end, and I feel that this is because Yammy has no major involvement in the actual arc up until this actual point. Yammy's aspect of death being rage, I feel, falls perfectly in line with his actual character. His character has a tendency to rush into fights and think that he can defeat his opponents that way. His aspect of rage shows that he has a tendency to not think properly and just has wild energy that's not actually channeled. His severely undeveloped pesquisa, which is remarked by Ulquiorra, shows that he has an inability to detect spiritual pressure, and that leaves him under-equipped to deal with opponents that are strong or stronger than him. He also doesn't have any notable healing ability, so a strong enough attack, I feel, from a strong opponent would be enough to kill him, even in his Resurreccion. Combining this with his other abilities, I feel that it's definitely below par for the number 1, or rather 0, Espada, and I don't feel that he have enough to deal with multifaceted characters that actually have multiple abilities that they can pull on and rely on. Although he beats Renji, Rukia and the others, he does run into Ichigo again and fights him, and Ichigo actually has the upper hand until his hollow fails on him, and again, similar to the first fight they had, Yammy then gets the upper hand. Ichigo is then saved by Kenpachi and Byakuya, who have come off the back of fights with Noitora and Zamari respectively, and you can say that they actually pushed pretty hard in those fights in comparison to this one. Now Kenpachi actually takes the lead in the fight against Yammy and actually has him pretty well beat. Yammy is actually downed by Kenpachi. It's only when Yammy is down and Kenpachi requests for Byakuya to finish Yammy off that Yammy actually has time to enrage and go into a bigger form than he actually had before. The rest of this fight isn't actually shown on screen. Byakuya and Kenpachi, upon their return, actually remark that this fight was not that interesting, and although they do show signs of damage, we do see that they have managed to actually cause significant enough damage to Yammy that when we go back to him, he's actually in the process of succumbing to his actual injuries and eventually he does die. So while Yammy might be the strongest in terms of just raw strength, I do feel that in the series there are plenty of characters that are multifaceted and have different abilities that would help them to deal with Yammy even in his enlarged and enraged form. even within the Espada, I wouldn't actually place him at number 0. For me, he'd probably definitely be under Stark, who I feel has the advantages of perceptiveness and immense spiritual energy. I'll definitely put him underneath Baragan, just because he's one of my favorites and because of his arrogante as well. I do feel like that would take care of Yammy pretty quickly before he even has a chance to get any more angrier. Harrybell, yeah, I'd feel like it's a bit more debatable, just in terms of whether Yammy actually gets to enrage to the point where Harrybell's strength can't actually deal with him anymore. So that one, maybe, but I'd still give Harrybell the edge. Ulquiorra, even though Yammy does state to Ichigo that he is stronger than Ulquiorra, I do feel like Ulquiorra does know Yammy well enough to know that he can actually deal with him very quickly before he enrages. And I do feel that his Segunda Etapa is still stronger than Yammy, regardless of what Yammy says. So within the Espada, yeah, I'd probably place Yammy about 5th or 6th, even though I do feel like Grimmjow also has a case if he can actually pull it off and kill Yammy before he gets to his enraged form. So I'd have to rule that Kubo's actual decision here to make him Espada number 0 is pretty broken. He is just strong in terms of pure raw strength, but doesn't actually provide nothing else. And even like I said, I feel like plenty of the Espada could take care of him, and also many of the captains would be able to, as evidenced by Byakuya and Kenpachi. He was never really one of my favourite characters. He did remind me a lot of Nappa from Dragon Ball Z when he first arrived in the human world of Ulquiorra. But he is just somebody that I wanted to set the tone with and get out of the way so I can go on to some of the more interesting characters and determine and debate whether their abilities are broken or brilliant. So yeah, please do leave a like, drop a subscribe as well, or rather subscribe if you can, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.